Hey there Stampers, and welcome to Simple Card Sunday. Today I have a great simple card to show you that features the new product from the Occasions catalog. The stamp set that we're using tonight is Painted Petals. You can, like I said, find this in the Occasions catalog. It's a set of 13 stamps and it's one of our photopolymer stamps. So that's that. And then I'm using the designer paper that coordinates with the stamp set to make our nice little card here. So let's set this aside and let's get started. So we're going to need a piece of Pacific Point cardstock, and it measures 5.5 by 8.5. And we're going to go ahead and fold that in half, and that's going to be the base of our card. And then we're going to pull in our 3 strips of paper here. So I have a piece of the designer paper right here. It measures 1.5 by 4 1/4. And I'm going to go ahead and get my snail and stick that on. Okay, and just right up against the fold here and along the side, you're going to want to stick that down like that. I have a piece of wild wasabi cardstock, and this measures 1 inch by 4 1/4. And I've gone ahead already and embossed it with the honeycomb embossing folder and my Big Shot. Okay, so I'm just going to, again with my snail, go ahead and stick that onto the card. And again, I'm going to line it right up with the fold at the top, which actually is the bottom right now because I flipped it around, and just butt it up against the designer paper there. So there's that one. And then the last strip that we're going to use is a 1/4 inch by 4 1/4 inches piece of crushed curry cardstock. Just a nice little bit of yellow, and it kind of brightens up the card a little bit. It kind of plays off the centers of the flowers in the designer paper. Okay, so the base of our card is fairly simple. It's a great way to use up scraps, as you can see. Now I'm going to go ahead real quick and I'm just going to trim along the bottom of the card there, where some of the papers are just a little bit longer than the rest of the card. So just so it has a nice clean edge. Right along the bottom there, I'm just going to give it a little trim real quick, like so. Okay, so we've got our nice clean edge along the bottom of the card. Okay, and just pull that stuff aside. And now we're going to do some stamping. So we're going to stamp this panel right here. Okay, so I'm going to set the base aside. I'm going to bring in some cardstock. I have some Whisper White cardstock here. This Whisper White cardstock measures 1 3/4 inches by 2 3/4 inches. And I'm going to start with my Soft Sky ink. Okay, and I'm going to start by stamping the flowers on the white piece. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and ink it up. I absolutely love this stamp set. It has the look of being shaded and just really realistic, without it actually, without you actually having to do that. Okay, and I'm going to stamp it actually twice. I'm going to stamp this flower right here one more time right on the side there. Okay, so we're done with our Soft Sky. So we'll put that aside. I'm going to pull in the Wild Wasabi. Now the colors that I've chosen, I just pulled them right out of the designer paper. So it was quick and easy to choose. The hardest part was choosing which designer paper I was going to use out of that pack. Alright, now this stamp set can be just a touch tricky to line up, but you just want to, like that. I like to find a piece that I know matches, and then I just kind of go from there. So like that. And I'm just going to ink it up one more time, because this little stem part right here, I want to stamp one more time right on the side there. So it looks like the stem to that flower is coming in. Okay, now I'm done with the Wild Wasabi, so I'm going to set that one aside, and I'm going to pull in my Pacific Point ink, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment. The stamp set has a great mix of fonts in the sentiments, and they're just really cute little sentiments. So I'm going to go ahead and ink that up, and I'm going to try really hard to get it in the middle of my paper, like so. Okay, so once all the ink dries, which will just take a couple minutes, I'll bring back my sample. You can see that it's a lot easier to read once that green dries. I just inked up my ink pad, so it's super, super inky right now. Okay, so on the sample, you can see there's some little ribbon embellishments there. So let's go ahead and do those. So I've just pulled in a scrap of Wild Wasabi seam binding, a scrap of Soft Sky 1/8 inch taffeta ribbon, and I'm actually going to cut my Wild Wasabi scrap in half because it's even too big of a scrap. Okay, so just to make the little ribbon loops, I like to put a little bit of snail on the end of my ribbon, and then I just do end to end like so, and I have my little loop like that. So I'm going to do the same thing with my Soft Sky ribbon, and that scrap also is a little big, but that's okay. Alright, now I want them to kind of stick together. It makes it a little bit easier to put it onto the card. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little snail there, and I'm going to add my Soft Sky ribbon just on top like that. And like I said, that just makes it easier when I'm putting my card together. Okay, so the next piece right here, looks like kind of bumpy linen thread here. It's actually a piece of the burlap ribbon, and all I did was cut the stitching off the side, and then you can pull out these long pieces, just depending on how long your piece is cut. Because they've been woven in, they kind of have a bumpy look to them. So it's kind of fun. So what I like to do is just wrap it around 2 fingers like so, and just wrap it around. And again, like I said, depending on how long your piece that you cut from your piece of burlap will depend on how many loops you get around your finger. So I have something that looks like that. So what I'm going to do is, to attach it to the card, I'm going to use the little mini handheld stapler. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of place it where I want it on my card, and actually I'm going to move this burlap down just a touch so it's not totally covering that Soft Sky ribbon. Okay, and I'm going to just place it behind my cardstock that I've stamped, and then I'm going to pull in my little mini stapler, and we're just going to give that a little staple like so. So the ribbon is all secured onto that piece of cardstock, and we're good to go. Okay, now because it leaves quite a bump on the back, we're going to go ahead and use some Stampin' Dimensionals to put it onto our card. So you can see on my sheet here I'm down to the edges, but that's okay. The edges are fantastic. They still are dimensional, they still are sticky, and they work great for this kind of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and just trim them a touch and stick the edge pieces on the back. And I'm going to stick one in the middle just because. So put that aside. And just the dimensionals just give your ribbon a little bit more space to be on the back of that cardstock without it bubbling up and being really hard to stick down. Okay, so go ahead and peel those edges off. Oh, that one's a tricky one. Peel them off like so, and then we're going to stick this down right on there like that. So you can see how the dimensionals allow for that to be stuck fairly flat on there without having to use a crazy amount of adhesive or anything. And we're ready to stick this onto our card then. So again with the snail, we're just going to apply snail to the back, and we're going to go ahead and pretty much center it in the card like so. And there you have it. We've done a beautiful little card that would be perfect for all kinds of people, I'm sure, in your life. If you like what you see and you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and you're Canadian, I would love to help you out. Please go ahead and visit my blog, and you can get my contact information from there. Send me a message and I'd love to send you a catalog or the link so that you can place an order for everything that you see here. And do make sure that you go check out my blog because I do have another card done with the same layout, only I've made it into a gift card holder with another really fun set from the Occasions catalog. That's all for today. Thanks for joining me, and happy stamping.